NTA News.
The state government has signed into law a bill prohibiting violent conduct on land matters, land grabbing, kidnapping, armed robbery, courtesy, and other allied offences. The state governor, Ibikunle Amosun, assented the bill presented in his office by the Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Suraj Adekunbi. Lepambode has the details.
In the recent time, land grabbers and speculators, popularly known as Omonile, kidnappers, armed robbers, courtiers and other allied offenders have continued to threaten the peace and tranquility for which the state is known. The state government therefore proposed a bill prohibiting all their activities, which the House, after necessary debates, passed it into law. With the law now in place, anyone found guilty of contravening any part of this law will face the music with stiff penalty of up to 25 years imprisonment with no option of fine. Speaker of the State House of Assembly, Right Honorable Suraj Adekunbi, says the bill was necessary for the sake of peace and integrity of the state.
And we believe that with the coming of the law, everybody will definitely sit tight.
The State Commissioner of Police, Ahmed Iliasu, assures that the law enforcement agencies will enforce the law. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbode, NTA News.
United Nations study shows that over 300 million Africans live below poverty line, with 80 million of such people living in Nigeria alone. In this report, Kunle Adebayo examines options available to improve the living standard of poorest of the poor in the society.
According to globally accepted standards, poverty is when a person lives on less than $1 per day. This is a common trend in many developing countries, and particularly in Nigeria, where many rural communities lack social amenities. Also, State Governor Rauf Adesola identifies poverty as a rural condition which could be eliminated with community and social development projects initiatives. The state government, in collaboration with the world
Antidote to the climate change we talk much about is maintaining the forests. We can impact much more effectively on not only the economy, but even all other things that can make this country survive earthwise.
Forestry Research Institute of Nigeria, like other agricultural institutes, are working to improve quality of seedlings to give better yields to farmers.
So we are trying to achieve so many via shortening their age and other research.
Experts say forestry can also enhance waste to wealth initiative and help protect the environment. In Ibadan, Kemioshi, NTA News.
Motorists plying interland roads in Oyo Town have called on concerned authority to rehabilitate the roads to avoid loss of lives in the area. Correspondent Larry Bilei has details.
The importance of roads that linked the interlands that are mostly farmsteads to the urban centers in the country cannot be overemphasized, especially to the socio-economic life of the country. Going through some of these roads, for instance, some portion in Oyo-Ibadan Expressway, the Oyo-Isanyi Road, and Oyo-Oweni Road gives you a queasy feeling of the ordeal one must go through to get to one's destination. Some of these roads have become death traps for motorists plying the route. Sadly, some of these routes had caused fatal accidents. Yet, these routes are where farm produce carrying vehicles must ply to get to the urban centers. Motorists using the route expressed concern about these roads.
Poor job, that's the pain of Nigerian road making. So if you want the farmer to be able to transport their goods back to Ibadan, Ilorin, and the others, you need a good road. When you're having some splinter ideas, when you get some certain programs, there are really big potholes that are so bad.
They are never called on the relevant authorities, both at the state and federal level, to fashion out modalities that could do appropriate rehabilitations.
From Oyo, Larry Milewi, NTA News.
It is a common saying that the only thing that is permanent is change. However, embracing change becomes an Herculean task for many and prefer to stick to their old ways of doing things. Now that efforts have been redoubled by the federal government for Nigerians to embrace change, experts are of the opinion that psychologists have roles to play in assisting Nigerians in their reasoning and behavior. Oyeyinka Falaram examines the role of psychology in the change agenda.
Discussions in many fora on how to find lasting solutions to some of the major challenges like corruption, insurgency, kidnapping, and armed robbery, to mention a few, confronting the nation, and other social vices like lateness, partiality, and greed, among others, are always centered on the need for attitudinal change among Nigerians. Experts believe that these vices have eaten deep into the subconscious minds of many and thus consider them as normal ways of life, but with attendant effect on overall development and peaceful coexistence in the country.
By the time citizens contribute to the economy, by the time citizens contribute to growth, by the time every citizen contributes to development, the sky becomes our limit. We need a discipline of our character, a discipline of our attitude, assist the government by bringing up new initiatives to reduce the burden from governments.
To address this, the federal government, through its change agenda, embarked on vigorous campaign for Nigerians to change their attitude for the nation to move forward. However, the place of psychology, which studies the mind scientifically and how it influences behavior, cannot be overruled in bringing the change mantra to the doorsteps of the people and their subconscious minds.
For psychologists assist in training people not to go beyond the normal bounds. The human being's nature is to do things when nobody's looking. The human being does things that are unusual. Psychology has the robust role of refocusing the narrative and in refocusing, ensuring that the message of change is not lost.
The therefore call for the domestication of the change begins with new mantra for purposeful results. In Ibadan, Oyeyinka Falaram, NTA News.
And now joining me in the studio is the head psychology department, University of Ibadan, Professor Benjamin Ehigi. So you're welcome to Panorama Studio.
Thank you very much.
Now, how would you assess Nigerians' disposition to the change mantra of the federal government?
Well, from my assessment as a psychologist, I would say we still have a major challenge in the people of Nigeria, the Nigerians, accepting these concepts of the change which the federal government has introduced through the present president of Nigeria. In the sense that change undergoes certain stages. First, there will be an existing state. Then there will be the perception of the need for change. This very stage is where I feel is still challenging to the average Nigerian. In that, though many tend to have the feeling and they tend to assert themselves that there is need for change. But the question is, how many Nigerians are really ready for change? So people have the idea that there is a need for change, but they've not really perceived why there should be change. And as such, the change has really not affected many Nigerians.
Now, talking about psychology as a profession, what is it and how does it relate to the change agenda?
Well, psychology as a discipline is the scientific study of human and animal behavior. But in the context of change, we'll be looking at human behavior. And behavior is often conceptualized from two perspectives, from what we refer to as the covert aspect and the overt aspect. The covert aspect is the internal aspect, which has to do with people's cognition, people's beliefs, people's attitude, people's values, and so on. Whereas the overt has to do with the acted behavior, behaviors that are seen. Well, if we take ourselves back to when the change really started with the same president giving war against indiscipline, we could remember that the emphasis seemed to be on the outward behavior, whereby punishment, penalties were used,
in attempts of trying to change behavior. But we see that these were not really effective. Why? Because the covert aspect was not really approached. And the covert aspect is that which will make an individual to see the problems we have in Nigeria as problems existing, and then to perceive that there is the need for changes to come up so that we'll have a better Nigeria. So the emphasis or the area which psychologists will really work in trying to effect the change and making the change effective is the internal aspect of Nigerians. The average Nigerian does not even see an immoral contest on ethical issues as unethical. For instance, now the federal government is trying some people on embezzlement, on corruption. You discover that if the person being tried is from my ethnic group or from my religious group, I stand with chances of saying, no, this person did not commit such offense. Why? Because in that context, I am not seeing the evil that has been perpetrated in the context as something that is wrong to the society.
Now, what exactly would you say informs people's attitude to accepting change?
Well, what will form people's attitude towards accepting change is the cognition, the rationality. Before now, people have certain process of socialization that encourage certain ill behaviors. Okay. Now, if these ill behaviors have to be altered, people need a reorientation in their cognition, packaging information that will make them see ill behaviors as actually ill and something not acceptable in the society, as something that is detrimental to the social, economic, and political stance of the society. So a reorientation and work on the cognition of the average Nigeria is essential for this change matter to be accepted.
So how do you intend to introduce psychology and psychologists to help in improving the needed change?
Well, the psychologists cannot operate, cannot function outside the scope of the government. It will require an integration of psychologists into the government, especially with agencies that are responsible for effecting or implementing change. One of the areas we can really come is by designing or packaging information that would help the average Nigeria to understand that what we are passing through is as a result of certain behavioral attitudes which needs to be changed and needs to be altered.
Now, Prof, how can the change agenda be domesticated for easy acceptability by the people?
Well, the way I think it could be implemented is with the self, with the individual. And wherever individuals could be found, whatever areas in which they have social interaction, this message of change has to be placed there. And where are these places? Beginning from religious settings. What are the messages that religious leaders are saying today? Are they messages that encourage change, or they are messages that take us back to these ill behaviors? At the place of work, what is being rewarded? What is being reinforced? Do we reinforce ill behaviors, or we reinforce behaviors that will tend towards productivity in the organization? These are some of the areas in which I think this attitude change can be effected.
Thank you very much, Prof, for coming on Panorama.
You're welcome.
The collapse of Moro Bridge in Ilorin, Kwara State has hindered the activities within the environment among organizations affected is the Nigerian prisons. Correspondent Abdullahi Elewetu has details.
The persistent collapse of this Bali Bridge has been hindering inflows of goods and services, as well as activities of some government agencies along the axis, such as the Nigerian Prison Service, Medium Security Prison, Mandala, Ilorin. I'm coming from Ilorin, going to Bali. The road is so bad. It's not about to talk with the government to help us. The National Union of Road Transport Workers, in conjunction with a counterpart, Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria, said the two unions have jointly sought a temporary alternative route
pending government intervention, while General Manager, Kwara State Roads Maintenance Agency, Mr. Usman Baba Jibril, speaks on the efforts of the state government.
State government has strengthened federal government, and by the power of God, I want to tell you that the federal government has advised this budget.
Road users are therefore advised to exercise patience with government, having that the federal government will soon commence work to bring about permanent solution to the problem. From Moro Bridge in Asa local government area of Kwara State, Abdullahi Elewetu, NTA News.
In our sports, Super Falcons set for 2016 African Women's Soccer Championship as action resumes tomorrow in the English Premier League. Correspondent Olumide Gotola reports.
All is now set for this